history was made here, period.
And that's what led a lot of us to this, I think, is the personal experience of having our friends, either ourselves be sick or our friends be sick and dying, and nobody at any level appearing to care one whit about it.
We could learn skills that we've never learned before, and more important, that we could just create our place in the world, which is really what the Women's Building represented, the public center for women's culture.
2 bartenders were dragged through splintering glass. People were dragged out into the parking lot where the police cars were waiting. 14 people were arrested. At the Black Cat, which was a former bar, dates back to the 1960s. It's on Sunset Boulevard in the Silver Lake District of Los Angeles. I'm West Joe, and I was involved in designating this as a City of LA Historic Cultural Monument in 2008. On New Year's Eve of 1966, that's December 31st, 1966, there was a New Year celebration here. There was a live group, there were Christmas trees, and the LAPD decided to make a statement by sending in 8 undercover vice officers. And a few seconds after New Year's 1967, they started arresting the men inside for exchanging same-sex kisses. The Tavern Guild actually got a piece in the LA Daily Journal back in 1967. So we have a picture of the front of the building in 1967. And this is basically what it looked like, glass and the same sign that's up here now. So if you can imagine a New Year's Eve celebration, still with the Christmas decorations, right after midnight, everyone's kissing, and suddenly the cops start grabbing people to arrest them. The bar structure, the bar where you order your drinks, that is the same bar structure that was here in 1967. I think the accounts that I read say this is where the 2 bartenders were dragged through splintering glass. People were dragged out into the parking lot where the police cars were waiting, and 14 people were arrested here. After people think of this as a riot, that's not actually what happened. There was quite a bit of chaos and pandemonium, but I don't think people were arrested. They were mainly just, if you can imagine, you're at a bar celebrating New Year's, and suddenly people around you start being grabbed. You don't know what's happening. There was absolute chaos. So it's described as a riot or a confrontation, but actually it was just real panic over what people saw was an assault by the LAPD. A lot of people were very much angry about this. A lot of people saw this in connection with Ronald Reagan's inauguration. He had been elected the November before as governor, basically on a law and order platform, perhaps in reaction to the free speech movement at Berkeley, and also the riots which had happened here in 1965. So organizations organized a rally over here in the parking lot. There were estimated 300 to 600 people in the rally in the parking lot of the bar and walking up and down in front of the bar. It's probably the largest LGBT demonstration to be held in this country up to that point in time. People forget how difficult it was, in terms of not just the fact that same-sex relations were criminalized, but also, especially in Los Angeles, that there was tremendous harassment and oppression on the part of the LAPD. It was notorious for that nationally. That's forgotten, and we need to remember the people who were brave enough to come out here and demonstrate. And they were scared. They were scared, but they were also very angry. And it's important to remember that. And they probably shared a lot of the same emotions as the people in Stonewall 2.5 years later. You know, you can read about things in books or see videos, but having someplace, you know, something about touching a building or seeing how it really looked, it can spur your imagination and it can deepen your understanding about the significance, and hopefully that's what it does. People need to know where we came from, and LGBT people need to know this is one of the first places where people were brave enough to stand up. I get emotional about this. There's a natural human disposition to focus in on the star-studded places, the Stonewall Inn, which certainly deserves its designation as a national monument. Hopefully people will realize that the LGBT movement came about all across the country. It had humble origins, just like all of the other civil rights movements of the 1960s. It was not in fancy, big places. It started out, this was a working class bar at that time, and that's where it started. That's the origin of people's rights today. It came from places like this.